Alright, I'm on a road trip from Little Rock, Arkansas, up to Minnesota, stopping shortly outside of St. Louis. So I figured I'd do a little bit of a review. I've gone 102 miles since Little Rock. So far I'm averaging about 39. Best so far was 40.6 or whatever, but I don't really expect it to get too much more than that. Can't really say anything negative about it so far. Bought it used with 10,000 miles on it. That has to be one of the coolest features so far. The wipers are auto, so they turn on and off whenever they sense rain, which is pretty cool. That's still going to take a little bit of getting used to. Doesn't have a shifter. This is the touring package, so I got heated and cooled seats. Navigation, of course. I'll check back in. I'm going to do this in parts, I guess, just to see where all the mileage and everything is at. Just a makeshift review, I guess, while I'm in transit. I did have a 2014 Honda Accord Hybrid that my best was 46 miles to the gallon, being extremely conservative while I was driving. So I'm kind of curious to see what this one gets. Typically with that one on freeway, I was able to average between 36 and 40 depending on how fast I was going. Try my best to stay under 70 miles an hour just to keep it as economical as possible. Most of these roads that I've been on so far, the max speed limit's been 70, so I'll check back in. Like I said, I'm going to try to do this in parts if I can remember, but so far so good. I have zero complaints. Still a little bit of an update. So I'm at 41 miles to the gallon right now, which not bad, but these side roads over here, the max speed limit has been 60, and as I said, I've been real conservative, trying to stay under it. Once again, I'm on a road trip, so I really don't want to get pulled over speeding or anything like that. I just recently crossed into Missouri too. I was experimenting, well, not really experimenting, I was just using the lane keep assist and the active cruise control. Turns out that the active cruise control works extremely well, to the point that as soon as I set it, there was a car in front of me and the active cruise control decided that I was too close for the distance that I required or requested. So it backed me off. Then the car in front of the vehicle that I was following decided it wanted to turn left off of a 2-lane highway like I'm currently on. And when the car in front of me braked, the car I was in braked. It kept a good distance. It kept the distance that I requested. And as soon as the guy in front of the car I was following turned off, the guy in front of me started gaining speed, and my car started gaining speed too. So lane keep assist definitely works. I have zero issues with that so far. That'll be the second or third time that I've had the situation where the car in front of me braked and the car did too. The car will, even if you have it set, like right now I have it set for 57 and a 60. If the car in front of me is going 55, the car is going to go 55 regardless of what you have the speed limit set to or your requested speed limit set to. So, and that works. It really works. Lane keep assist, it's kind of trippy. I didn't do like some other people have done in videos where they just leave their hands off the steering wheel, because I'm really trying to make it back to Minnesota. But I kind of just held my hand kind of on it like this to see what it would do, and it works. It's like a heavy steering wheel that kind of turns, and that's what it does, but it just feels like a heavier steering wheel when you engage lane keep assist. That's really the difference to it. So I mean, it works. I have zero complaints so far, zero issues with everything, and like I said, I'm just checking in. So far so good. Nothing's wrong. Everything seems to be perfect, and I mean, getting better fuel economy than I thought I would. I'm making my way up versus making my way down or staying at 40. So check back in a little bit later when I make it more through Missouri. Alright, so random thing that I noticed. If you've owned a 2014, 15, 16, 17 hybrid, you're aware of the fact that on the freeway, whenever it switches between full electric to gasoline, because there's a clutch that couples the two together depending on what it's doing, you can feel that. In this car, the 2018, it seems like they actually paid attention to the fact that you'd be able to see that, feel that, and they took care of it, I guess. It's not as noticeable. Like in my 2014 hybrid, it was noticeable to me. None of my passengers would ever. I asked everyone if they felt the clutch engage and disengage and engage and disengage, and no one ever felt it engage or disengage. It seemed like it was just something that I felt. So, I mean, I'll give them credit for actually paying attention to that and taking care of that. So I'm going to try to give you an example of the active cruise control. So right now there's the van in front of me. I have it set up so that it shows 2 lines. That's the distance I want. So let's do, no, now it's 2 lines. It was at 3 lines. So now it's going to speed up to kind of get close the gap basically. Which, probably hear that. That's another thing. This engine's actually kind of quiet compared to what I thought it would be. It doesn't drone up as high or any of that. So I give them credit for what they did. So, alright, wipers just want to do their own thing. It doesn't really help anything. This is at 2 spaces. Then let's close the gap a little bit more. And with the gap closed, it basically gives you, I'd say, a solid 2 to 3 car lengths. That's as close as you're gonna get. And if he decides he wants to brake, this car will brake. So let's enhance the gap, put it back to as far as it'll go away, and the car will just coast and open up the gap. So like I said, the active cruise control definitely, it works. It works just like it should. I really like it. I enjoy it. Makes everything easy. And my phone won't focus because, I don't really have any gripes over anything so far. Like I said, that's still gonna take some getting used to. I've been riding on eco mode the whole time. That was another thing that I forgot to say earlier. Just to, I don't know, see what the difference is, I guess. This does not focus that well. Just for anybody wondering, I'm actually shooting the video on a LG G5. Camera's pretty good. It's just, I believe it has the laser focus. So sometimes it'll pick and choose what it wants to focus on. Alright, I'll check back in a little bit later. Alright, small update, something I just noticed. As you can see, it's definitely raining where I'm at right now. The wipers are set on auto, so they're just doing whatever they feel they need to do to give me good visibility. The lane keep assist, this is its limit. It won't lane keep assist when there's heavy rain. I know anybody watching it right now kind of probably saying, well, duh. But I kind of was curious what the limitation would be. because like I said at the beginning of this, I started in Little Rock and my end destination is Minnesota, and right now we're basically having a bit of a snowstorm in Minnesota. So I was curious to see what the transition would be, and as you can see right there, if you can catch it, the lines for the lane keep assist are open, they're not filled in, which means it can't turn on. It will not keep you in the lane or assist you in the lane. So I guess that's a bit of an update, so that if you were wondering, this is the answer to the question. That's the limit, basically. Whenever there's heavy rain or anything that would keep it from seeing, it just disengages the lane keep assist. And like most other people have said, it's close to autonomous driving, but it's not. I mean, you still got to drive, you still got to do what you're supposed to do, and this is a perfect example of it. The car apparently knows its limits, and this is the limit. It's not going to attempt to do something that you can do. It can't see, so it's your job to see, which, I don't know, I give them credit. They did what they could up until they couldn't anymore, and this is the limit. I'll check back in a little bit later with anything else I find. I'm at 40.5 miles to the gallon. Put about 300 miles on so far, give or take. 269 since I left Little Rock. Got about 200 miles left on the tank, so I'm getting pretty good mileage. I have about an hour and a half to the destination where I'm going, so like I said, I'll check back in a little bit later, give updates on whatever I think should be given, and anything else that comes up, like this lane keep assist. Oh, the radar doesn't matter. The rain doesn't do anything to the active cruise control. It still is keeping me a safe distance away from the vehicle in front of me and doesn't have any issues with it. It still senses the truck that's in front of me and does what it should do. Like right now, I stayed in the left lane, the truck moved into the right lane, and the active cruise control basically has a hollow vehicle in it, which means it can't sense anything in front of me. So yeah, that's another cool thing that it works. I mean, even in rain, the radar will work, so that isn't something really to be worried about. I should definitely slow down because I just noticed the speed limit's 60. Let's put me down to about 63. Alright, I'll check back in a little bit later. I know you guys are probably getting tired of hearing me say that, but yeah. Alright, I just did a video about the lane keep assist. Apparently the problem was the semi that was in front of me was throwing up too much water. So if you're behind a vehicle, there's a good chance your lane keep assist might shut off, especially if they're throwing up a lot of water. Like right now I'm behind this Ford Focus, and my lane keep assist definitely came back on. Apparently it doesn't throw up enough water to cause an issue, so yeah. Just a quick one, nothing too extravagant. Alright, so I crossed into Illinois not too long ago. I'm currently at 40.4 miles to the gallon. Roughly 300 miles plus that I've already put on. I actually found out that that hold brake feature, or brake hold feature, is actually pretty cool. Especially when you're on a road trip, if you come up to one of those interstates or like the 2-lane highways where they actually do have red lights. You've already gotten accustomed to the fact that you don't really have to have your foot on the brake or the gas because you're using cruise control. When you come up to the red light, if you have the brake hold on, because it's on standby, it doesn't just, you don't press the button and it just turns on and starts braking your car. Once you come to a complete stop, it'll say that it's activated, engaged, and you can just remove your foot off the brake. You do have to hit the gas to deactivate it, but I mean, it's not a bad feature. It's actually a pretty nifty feature, or a pretty cool feature, whichever way you want to spin it. Yeah, lane keep assist is still helping out. It isn't really intrusive or anything like that, but it definitely helps for a longer road trip. Let's see, the radar just picked up that truck that went in front of me, so it actually does have a pretty good range on it. Yeah, so just a little bit of an update. No real quirks or anything that I have to report. I did forget to say, the sound system in the touring package that this one is actually really nice. Like, bass on point, treble really good, mids really good. I mean, of course, the bass isn't like if I actually had an aftermarket sub in there, but you could tell that something's there. So I don't know. I still have no complaints. Probably be the last one for the day. I'm gonna make a pit stop at a friend's house. Then I am going to just try to do the 10 hours from where I'm starting straight through to Minneapolis, Minnesota, and keep you guys updated, because from what everyone tells me back home, the weather's definitely getting to the point where it's going to be shitty tomorrow. So I'll keep you guys informed. Kind of curious to see what the fuel economy does once the weather keeps going down and keeps going down. And of course the temperature will keep dropping. I've been able to be at about 42 Fahrenheit this whole drive, give or take. I think I started at like 45 when I left Little Rock. So like I said, I'll just keep you guys informed on what's what, and this will be micro road trip for anybody who's really curious about what these cars do in a non-stop 1,000-mile, well, not non-stop, but you know what I mean, for 1,000 miles, give or take. The fuel economy and the hiccups or the quirks that you might notice or might not notice, or the benefits. So like I said, I'll check back in the morning when I take off, and we'll go from there. Alright, round two. Woke up in Illinois on my way to Minnesota. So currently 43 degrees out. Just filled the tank, saying that I'm getting 38 miles to the gallon, which is still early in the game for what I'm really getting. Foggy conditions, literally just entering St. Louis.
Mile, keep a right to I-70 toward Kansas City.
As the GPS just said. I will say the GPS is actually really accurate. It's a Garmin GPS, so kind of will be. Like I said, just checking in. First start of the day. We'll see what happens. I'll do periodic check-ins. Alright, so I figure I got like 500 miles on this leg of the trip. I'm going to just do a bit of an update every 100 miles. One of the things that kind of stuck out to me on this little part of the trip, the lane keep assist. Since I've been riding in the right lane for most of this trip, it became kind of evident on this part that when the lanes break up like that, it's the on-ramp or the off-ramp, or when there's a Y in the road. If you're in the left lane, or in the right lane, I mean, and you have the lane keep assist on, for some reason the car doesn't know how to register the fact that you're in the right lane, and it just thinks that you veered off or whatever. And I've seen a couple other reviews where they've mentioned it, that's kind of one of the things about the lane keep assist. If it doesn't pick up the lane, it just automatically assumes that you went off the road or whatever. So it'll give you a warning, shake the steering wheel, and basically tell you to put your hands on the steering wheel that you need to drive. Which, I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's just, if you're on a road trip and you're using lane keep assist, it could get annoying. It hasn't really annoyed me or anything. It's just something that I noticed, and I figured I'd bring up because, like I said, I've seen it on other reviews, other videos, and it's true. I guess is the only way to say it. Other than that, everything else is good. Cooled seats once again come in clutch. This morning when I first got in the vehicle, seats were cold. Heated seats definitely worked out just perfectly. Like, there was no issues. It wasn't too hot, it wasn't too cold. One of the things I did realize, because last night I ended up using the heated seat, and this morning when I got in, the heated seat was still on. So the seats basically operate off of whatever it was last left on. It just turns that on again. So like on my 2014, it didn't do that. You had to turn on the heated seats every time. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, it's kind of a memory thing at this point, so I guess you could use that as a benefit if, like me, I live in Minnesota. Turn on the car. When it's cold, you turn the heated seats on. You never turn them off. Next time you turn on the car, the heated seats are already on. So I guess that's a benefit in that aspect. Like I said, I'm going to just check in every 100 miles. Fuel economy right now is at 40.4. I did realize I didn't have the economy button pressed down, so the little leaf right there wasn't on for like the first 70, 80 miles. So, and I was averaging like 39, 38. I was trying to figure out why it wouldn't go up to 40 like it did on the first part, and I think that might have been it. So I think all it really does is it has more of a changeover to the electric when it's on the freeway. And like I said, I don't notice it do the changeover as much as I did in the 2014. So once again, I'll give them credit on how they handled the changeover between the gas and the electric on this model. Check back in 100 miles. Alright, 100 mile update. I am now in Iowa, where there's not really much to see but cornfields, because they still have their cornfields up. Yeah, I'm in Iowa. So one of the things that I did notice, I think it was maybe like 50 miles ago, depending on the music that you listen to, songs or whatever, if it has a lot of bass to it, like hip-hop, rap, R&B, some rock songs, you might get some plastic that decides it wants to rattle around, because I definitely did start paying attention to some plastic that rattles around in the back. It's most likely probably in the where the subwoofer rear deck is at, which there ain't anything I could do about that right now. I could probably once I get to where I'm going, figure out what screws I need to tighten or bolts I need to tighten down. But I just got to deal with it right now. My 2014 Accord definitely had that issue on the door. This one seems to kind of have the same thing. I don't know if it's from the door or from the dash. I haven't really paid too much attention to get all detailed about it. I'll worry about that when I get home. But I think that's really the only thing I can report on this 100-mile update. I'm getting 40.5 miles to the gallon right now. I did stop at a little fast food place. Had to get off the freeway for like a mile or so. My fuel economy jumped up to like 42 damn near immediately, but now that I'm back on the freeway, this is what it is. Yeah, like I said, this is my 100-mile update. Should hopefully see improvement in fuel economy, because I believe Iowa is a pretty flat state. Missouri definitely had a lot of ups and downs and valleys and going up and down and up and down, and I could definitely see my fuel economy kind of climbing and falling depending on which one I was doing. So I guess we'll see what happens in the state of Iowa. I'll check back in with you guys in 100 miles. Alright, 100 miles later, I am in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I am at 39.9 miles to the gallon. And it turns out that Iowa is not as flat as I thought it was. So, I don't know, I think that one backfired on me, or whoever told me that was full of it. I don't really have anything negative to say. I've been driving straight through since Illinois, so I think within the next, I'm gonna wait till I have 100 miles of range left. I have 187 right now. Fill up and then do the last leg, because I'm getting a little antsy just sitting here. So I'm gonna knock out this last 87. Probably still be in Iowa when I fill up, and then do the rest all in one shot. So like I said, 39.9 miles to the gallon. Iowa's not as flat as I thought it was, and we're still moving. We're still doing pretty good. I have no complaints. I actually figured out the rattle in my door was that thing. So that was operator error, I guess. But everything else seems to be fine. The back deck does have a rattle from the stereo, so I think that's just, it is what it is. I'm not really going to be able to do anything about that. Yeah. The radar cruise control definitely still works perfectly. I have no issues with that either. Keeps me at the perfect distance. So check back in 100 miles. Alright, so I ended up fueling up. I found one of the features that's a driver's assist feature. If you look at the left part of the gauge, it basically has the yards of how far the vehicle in front of you is. I was just using it when I first found it and realized that it goes out to about 120 yards, give or take, before it just completely stops registering and nothing shows up. So I figured I'd set the active cruise control so it'll show you exactly how many yards you are away from the car in front of you, and kind of go from there. So right now I got the speed set for 65. Let me just turn it up a little bit to make sure that I'm having an accurate reading. I believe I'm in a 65, so 70 and a 65 shouldn't get me in too much trouble if I do get seen. So I think it'll keep you about 90 yards when you have it the furthest that you want. And that's the van in front of me that I'm trailing behind, and keeping me between 85, 90 yards away. So close the gap by 1. As you see, it kind of speeds up, like, okay, cool, let's do it. Autofocus sucks. So, keeps you at about 65 yards, between 65, 70, I think. Seems pretty accurate. About that far, give or take. I mean, oh yeah, I'm in Charles City, Iowa now, as you can see by the sign right there. So I'm making pretty good time. Stop, hit the restroom, fueled up, grab something to eat real quick. Let's put it down to 2 bars. See how far it'll get you at 2 bars. And this is strictly just curiosity type thing. Try to keep your hands on the steering wheel. Oh, I actually did do what most other reviewers will do, going around the curve just to see what it'll do. And it does work. It trips you out, but it does work. I mean, I just did it for a few seconds just to see if the car would keep its distance, and it does. So 3 bars away keeps you about 50 yards away from the vehicle in front of you. So half a football field. That's what 3 bars does. Let's see what 1 bar does. And after this, I should be dun, dun, dun. So the closest it'll get you, I'd say, is about 30 yards. Which is pretty close, but I mean, as you see the car that just went by, that's still like 2-3 car lengths. So it's not bad, but I guess now I could put a actual number behind how far the bars are. So I think it was 90, 65, 70, 50, and then 30 yards. So I mean, it's now you know exactly what it is. My fuel economy from Illinois to Charles City, Iowa ended up being 40 miles to the gallon. So understandable for highway speeds on a hybrid. Like I said, that's pretty it's pretty spot on with my 2014. So I'll check back in a little bit later. Alright, 100-mile update. I am officially in Owatonna, Minnesota. It's the 100-mile update. The one thing I was curious about with this one was the same thing that I realized with my 2014. We're at about 34 degrees in Minnesota right now, and the mileage suffers.
The delay due to traffic is 7 minutes.
Floating at around 36.9 right now. It's been going down the further I get north. That, and there are some serious crosswinds. I didn't realize that it'd be that bad, but I mean, it is. Just going straight north instead of east to west. Yeah, it literally has been pushing the car left to right in the lane. And the cars that are behind me too, I've noticed that it's been pushing them too. So it's not just me. But yeah, so the cold temperature definitely did affect the mileage. The crosswinds definitely affected the mileage, and yeah, that's really all I got to say. Cruise control is still doing what it's doing. The lane keep assist still works just fine. I'm trying to see, because they said that it's supposed to snow today. I was kind of curious to see if there would be any snow on the road to see how everything acts, but I'm pretty sure that it's just going to be the same as if heavy rain conditions. The lane keep assist will cut off, and the radar should still work depending on how bad the snowfall is. But like I said, 100-mile update. Cold weather definitely does affect the mileage. Crosswinds definitely affects the mileage. I'll do an update once I actually get into the cities to see what the city driving is, if it ends up boosting up my mileage, because that was one of the things that my 2014, every time I drove around the cities, I could see the mileage jump up rather quick. And there goes the active cruise control slowing me down because somebody decided to jump right in front of me. Yeah, so like I said, 100-mile update, everything's good. Road trip's pretty cool. I'll check in with you guys once I get into the cities. I'm checking back in real quick. One of the things that I have noticed, speed limit's 70 miles an hour where I'm at, but sometimes the camera will pick up, like let's say I'm on I-35, because that's what it is. It picks up the I-35 sign and switches the speed limit sign to be 35. It did it a couple times when I was in Missouri, and I completely forgot to mention it, but that's, I mean, if you know what the speed limit is, it isn't that big of a deal. It's just one of those things that you got to pay attention. Don't just go off of whatever the camera picks up. Alright, here's a cool one. Lane keep assist and active cruise control in traffic. You don't really have to put your feet on anything. Just set it to the highest distance away, and it'll do its best to keep you there, but of course it'll creep close, and it will come to a complete stop, and it will take off again if it needs to. But active cruise control is actually pretty awesome when it comes to stop and go traffic. Pretty sure that a bunch of other reviewers of the vehicle have done it, but figured I'd say something about it too. As of right now, I just turned the EV mode on because why not? I'm still at 37 miles to the gallon. It did go down to 36.7, but I mean, like I said, it's kind of, I expected it to because it's so cold, but yeah. Alright, well, just wanted to check in on that one because it's something that I did forget to say. Alright, this will probably be the last update. So I made it to the Twin Cities, Minneapolis to be specific, Minnesota. Overall, right now I'm still at 37.4 miles to this tank, but the overall from Little Rock to Minneapolis is 39.8 miles to the gallon, which isn't that bad. It's 952 miles. Sorry about that. The lane keep assist still actually does relatively good with the roads wet like this, and there was kind of slushy. When it got heavy on the slush, it didn't do so well, but right here it's still doing pretty good. There's no real issues. So all in all, it was a pretty good road trip. No real complaints, just a little bit of that rattle from the sound system, but that's kind of expected, seeing how whoever owned this car before me, since I did buy it used, probably had the bass all the way up and loosened everything up for me. But like I said, damn near 1,000 miles later from Little Rock to Minneapolis, I have zero complaints. Made it just fine. The one thing I did notice, I have to check the air pressure on the tires because they look like they were a little low, so I might have actually got better fuel economy if I would have been running more pressure or higher pressure in the tires. So that'd probably be the only thing I want to double check. I'm probably going to do another update in another 10,000 miles, so when I get 20,000 miles on the car, I'll do another update. So I mean, if you're watching this and you want to ask any questions or opinions on something else that I should talk about on the 10,000 mile update, I guess, let me know. I know that this video is probably a little bit longer than what most people want, but this is supposed to be just a review on a road trip. It's not like an in-depth review like most of the other big name reviewers will do. Like, I just bought the car, figured I haven't really seen anybody do one on a road trip. 1,000 miles later, this is where we're at. So I know it's kind of chopped up, put together, but I believe it gets to the point. Like I said, leave a comment on anything you would like me to go more in depth on the update, and I'll do my best to do so. If you watched it to the end, thanks for watching. If you didn't, sorry I bored you, but you're not here anyways. You guys have a good day. Okay, this one's really the last one. The active cruise control was deactivated because there's too much slush on my front bumper or the Honda sensing unit. So there's that. But I mean, kind of expected that to happen with a bunch of slush. So if there's too much snow, too much slush in the air, and your Honda sensing system gets covered, you no longer have active cruise control. Lane keep assist still works though, so there's that. But alright, that was it.